have a sourdough starter that you want to split and share? Today, I would like to take you through what I do to split a sourdough starter. I'm starting out with 3 jars and a spoon. This jar has my active sourdough starter inside. I have just taken it out of the refrigerator, and as you can see, there isn't much in there. This is how it should be every time you put your sourdough starter into the refrigerator. You only need a couple of tablespoons to make sourdough starter, whether you are splitting it or not. In this jar, I have all my sourdough discard. I can use this discard for sourdough discard recipes, but if I don't have something to make, I save it in this jar to make dog or goat treats. I made a video on this previously. Go check it out if you're interested. This container has my rye flour inside, and this container has my spring water inside. If I wasn't making a split or making bread at my weekly feeding, I would just put about 1/4 of a cup of flour inside, put it in a warm place and let it rise, and then discard all but a couple of tablespoons. But since we are splitting the sourdough starter, I want to give it a little more than a cup of flour. Now it's time for the water. I pour a little in at a time. I'm trying to get the consistency of really thick pancake batter. I add more water as needed until I reach this consistency. I make sure to stir with a wooden spoon. Now this is important. Make sure to scrape down the sides really well so that all the active sourdough starter can be mixed in to what you are adding. You don't want to add too much water because this will not allow the starter to have much to feed on. It feeds on the flour. Here is where the flour mixture is before putting it into a warm place. Don't put the lid on. Instead, put a towel over the top with a rubber band around the rim. If you have these handy jar covers, use those. It just makes things easier. Place into a warm area. In the wintertime, I can use a heat lamp, a crock pot, a yogurt maker, etc. I made a video on these different methods too. Check them out if you're interested. Today I am going to place it in my dehydrator. The optimal temperature is around 83 degrees. I have a dehydrator that allows me to pull all the trays out so that I can sit the jar inside. Unfortunately, my dehydrator only goes down to 90 degrees. So I have to make sure not to leave it in too long. Depending on the outside temperature, it can take 2 to 3 hours to rise. Today it took 2 hours in the dehydrator. I take it out, and as you can see, it has risen from here up to here. It has almost tripled in size. I take my wooden spoon, which I love, and carefully scoop out enough for a small starter in a clean jar. Remember, these can be old jars from sauces or whatever you use, so save your glass containers. This jar here has the new starter to share. I am going to take the remaining starter and put it in my discard jar. As you can see, I am only leaving about 2 tablespoons inside of my regular sourdough starter jar. I can put that into the refrigerator to feed again in a week. I will also change jars next week as this jar is in need of a good cleaning. I put the discard jar in the refrigerator. The last jar remaining is what I can give to share. It is a good idea to keep it in a warm place until you hand it off, but make sure to do that within a few hours of this process. I hope you have learned a few things about sourdough and the splitting process. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know about your sourdough experiences. SHTF Survival Homestead Teaching Farm has enjoyed presenting you with this information. Please continue to help us help you by liking, sharing, and subscribing.